I just Mr. Miyagi this gnat.
Good job.
Really?
I mean, you only
Yeah.
tried. I only saw you trying for the last hour, but
That's how it goes. You don't I had a really clever analogy, but it's gone.
I mean, you don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks. You fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm straight up like the Indiana Jones. Like, there's a person like doing all these cool sword moves, and he just pulls out the gun and shoots them, and like walks away. With the bugs, I got the bug assault gun, and I'm just like, any sense of dexterity or skill or speed or talent, it's gone. Assault.
Well, the gnats like to hang out right in front of my monitor, and so I don't want to fire my 4K monitor with a salt gun.
I have that same issue too. When it's like on the TV or the monitor, I'm like, let me just shoo it away. Okay, now it's on a wall. Okay, blammo.
Blammo.
Yeah.
Blammo.
Let's clap ourselves in here. Are we ready?
All right. Ready.
But you can't check your six. It's kind of like, taking a screwdriver to a gunfight. What's happening? Just like on top.
Welcome to Steven See It All. This is episode 29. I'm Aaron.
I'm Zach.
I'm Hans. We didn't.
And no one's
introduce
giving me
ourselves
the same
last time.
energy that I came into this with.
No, it's because as soon as you said that, I realized that we didn't actually say our names in the last episode because I didn't introduce myself.
We were out of practice. It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. We're getting back into the flow.
I'm Hans. I'm ready to talk about Against the Dark.
You should be, because this is one of the most exciting Seagal films that we've had in a while.
What?
Because Seagal has like 4 lines in this one.
He has a grand total of maybe 4 minutes on screen too.
Okay, so before we recap or anything, overall, not even if you liked the movie or not, movie was good or not, did you have a good time watching this, yay or nay?
So my first
Yay or nay?
Yay.
Hans.
Oh, can I give yay? But
okay, I'm
with
odd man out.
Oh wow,
there's
really?
a caveat to my
I
answer,
have
but
a-
There are a lot of caveats.
Okay,
to my
yeah, that's
yay.
fair. But I wanted the quick yay or nay. Okay, let's go.
Because I'm going to say my first note as I was watching this movie was, oh, thank goodness, something weird.
oh man, was this one weird?
Like, finally we're getting something just weird.
Weird in
Not-
tone and setting and plot and pacing.
and not like... Because we've had some movies in the past that were, like, weird. But, like, then you go back and do the behind-the-scenes research and you find out it was supposed to be way weirder and more interesting and was just ruined.
Because
like,
of
Seagal comes on set, and we've said this many times. It's like, oh, this movie is about alien vampires? No, it's like drug addicts. That's what it's about now. Aliens on a submarine? No, the submarine will last for 5 minutes not doing a submarine.
We were robbed.
Like they say,
We were
Seagal could do
robbed of
something
2
interesting,
interesting
and he
movies.
goes, no, same boring stuff. Same thing I've done 20 times.
Yeah, in this movie, it's about zombies, and he says, no, make them vampires who act exactly like zombies.
Yes, there we go.
Don't change the makeup. Don't change
Make
literally
no changes.
anything. Just control
Call
F.
them vampires.
Control F in the script. Zombies replace with vampires.
They act exactly like zombies. They do everything zombies do. Just everyone in the movie just happens to call them vampires for no reason at all. So in this movie, I would talk about what Steven Seagal does, but like we said,
Not
he
much.
is in this movie for maybe 5 minutes.
He shows up and kind of swings a sword around, and end of sentence.
And that's the best
Yeah.
way to describe it too. He kind of swings the sword around.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many quick cuts you can't tell what he's doing with that dowel. He's like walking around in this zombie apocalypse with like a Chinese dowel, like a Chinese saber, and he's holding it in the dumbest way possible as he's like walking around town. But anyway, so here's the recap. It is
hear
a
it.
zombie apocalypse. I'm sorry. It is a vampire apocalypse.
Yes,
There is a
yes.
virus.
Thank you. A virus that makes you a vampire. Yes.
Which turns people into vampires. Who, let me just tell you, these vampires, you might be thinking like, people in dark clothing avoid sunlight. allergic to garlic or whatever, drink blood. No. These vampires eat human flesh, shuffle around mindlessly.
They look a lot like The Walking
If
Dead.
they like bite or scratch you, they infect you, and you eventually become one yourself. You might think I'm describing zombies, but no,
those
I
are
want you to
classic
throw that away.
things. Yeah.
Classic vampires. That's a
All
vampire.
hallmarks of the vampire.
Classic vampires.
So we have two groups of survivors who find themselves in this gigantic hospital, like
The world's biggest. It's gotta
the
be.
world's largest hospital. That's the only way this movie works. Is if this hospital is like 15 stories tall, even though they state in the text of the film that it's a 3-story hospital. And what they're trying to do is to get to what they call the main security door, which apparently is the only safe way out of this hospital, even though a standard hospital has like 10 entrances and exits.
And is also apparently just like a garage door that just like kind of
Yeah, it's just like a
That's the one door out.
rolling garage door, the main security door, and they need to get out. Now, what adds tension to the film is that this whole thing takes place. The entire movie takes place in one night, and apparently they need to get out of there before sunrise, because at sunrise, like the backup generator which powers the door will die, and they won't be able to open the door if they don't get there in time.
Yes,
even
yes.
though that's not how doors
Everything
work.
you've said has made sense. Yes.
And so there are these
ignoring
two groups of
how they all
survivors.
got in. They can't go.
Yeah,
they all got in different ways. They can't go back out those. They have to go to the secure door.
Like, you actually see one of the groups of survivors coming in through a window. Like, they put a ladder up to a window and climb in. And they're like, the only way we can get out... They're standing next to the window they came in. And they're like, the only way we can get out of here is to get to the main security doors. I know, because I was, like, a nurse in this hospital for some reason. Like, we need to get to the main security door, which is down in, like, the parking garage underneath the hospital. It's the only way out, even though you just watched us climb in through this window. And anyway... So these two groups of survivors, what? Yeah.
I was gonna. You mentioned like they have to get out by daybreak because like the generator will shut off and they won't have access to the door. The movie makes a very interesting choice to also have a much higher stakes reason that they need to be out before daybreak that none of the characters even know about.
No.
There is a whole other tension that they are clueless as to.
Also, so
it doesn't matter.
Notice, I haven't mentioned Seagal at all. That's because he's in actually the B plot, which has much higher stakes, but way less tension.
Garage door.
Because nobody knows about it. So Seagal is the leader of a pack of what are called hunters. So Steven Seagal and the two girl hunters who don't matter because they die. Both of them die without uttering a single line throughout the whole movie. They walk around in leather and high heels, and like the zipper on their jacket's undone just so you can see their cleavage, and they both die without doing anything or saying
does
anything.
not wear high heels as well. It's just the girls. That syntactically that left some ambiguous room that Seagal could be wearing high heels as well. He unfortunately is not. They do the boring thing.
No, he wears his standard Seagal outfit, which is a long leather trench coat. And he also has another guy with him named Taggart, apparently. I don't think they ever say his name. He carries around a submachine gun. He's played by Tanoi Reed. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. You may recognize him as a stuntman in like every Fast and Furious movie.
Well, specifically the stunt double for his cousin, who is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes. So he is pretty famous. And I thought he was going to be the most famous person in this until you find out that the hunters are being sent in.
Yes.
By none other than Keith David.
Yes.
As soon as I heard him start talking, he was
Yes.
his first lines. He wasn't even on screen. Like someone was talking to him, and he came on in the background. I was like, whoa, what?
It's like, wait a second, is that Keith David? And then he comes on screen. I'm like,
it's
holy crap,
Keith
it's
David.
Keith David.
Insane.
And it is frustrating. It is deeply upsetting how good this man is in everything. You cannot bring him down. He is 10 out of 10 in this movie.
Well, it's because he doesn't share a single scene with Seagal.
I was like so mad. I was looking through his filmography. okay, a small aside from like talking about this actual movie that we gather here to talk about, I just want to talk about Keith David for a second.
Oh, please, yes. Any day.
So Keith
Where's
David,
the Keith David podcast?
looking at his IMDb page, he's been acting since 1979. He's been in acting since 1979. And he's had like small roles in like a lot of little things, some things that you might recognize. Like I don't know. He was in The Thing. He was in a few episodes of Mr. Rogers. He was in Platoon. But
He
not,
was the best part of the 6th season of Community.
but like in his early career, since 1979, I wouldn't say his early career, like for a long time, since 1979, he's been in like little things, like little background things. He's just struggling to break through and find something. 2009, the year this movie came out, was a watershed year for Keith David. God bless Keith David in 2009.
God bless Keith David every year.
So he was just coming off of the high of Halo 2 and Halo 3.
This was what, like a year or two after Mass Effect?
Yeah, this is right out. This was 2 years after Mass Effect. In 2009, the same year as Against the Dark, he was in Behind Enemy Lines, Coraline, Against the Dark, The Hitman Diaries, Blue, Don McKay, Forgive Us Our Transgressions, Pastor Brown, The Butcher, Gamer, All About Steve,
Oh my god.
an episode of Numbers, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, The Princess and the Frog, and then the next year he did Mass Effect 2 and like a whole bunch of things. He's the voice of the Arbiter in Halo 2 and Halo 3, which I didn't realize. And he did an excellent job in that. This is post Halo, same year. This is the same year as his role in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 as Sergeant Foley. And I actually had to like do a double take on this one. I didn't realize Princess and the Frog was this old. That 2009, but this was like a watershed year for him.
Actually, related
Because-
to this, probably my favorite Keith David like voice acting fact is that in like 2008 he's hired to play a character in Saints Row 2, and then like everything that you described and more happens. So by the time you get to Saints Row 4, he plays Vice President Keith David. Like they hired him as a voice actor, and then he became so famous, he became known as Keith David, that they just put him in the game as Keith David and also the guy he was already playing.
Yeah,
That perfect.
yeah. And so from here on, he just like skyrockets in popularity. You go, Keith David.
Well deserved.
This
Well
is just,
deserved.
I don't even have a fun pun title for it. Just the Keith David fan cast. Just I love you,
Yeah.
Keith David, the Keith David fan cast.
And with that voice, how did it take him so long?
Well, because
Justice
they're
for
like
Keith
Keith
David.
David, the guy from 2 of the Skull movies. No,
No,
I'm
Keith
just-
David from
no.
Halo, Keith David from Call of Duty, Keith
he was-
David from Mass Effect.
He was in Fallout in '97. No, he's had some good roles the whole time. Planescape Torment too.
Yeah.
Wow, he's been on the video game front for a while now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a plot to this
anyway.
movie.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
Keith
so-
David showed up.
The Hunters are civilian contractors who work for the United States military, who's trying to like work on this whole vampire problem.
It's funny when you call them
and-
contractors working on the problem. It sounds like they're in a cubicle, like typing away at.
No. Military contractors, they're mercenaries. They are sent in to this like section of the city in order to clear it of civilians, because the military is going to send in airplanes to just bomb the whole thing and destroy it, because they know that there are a bunch of vampires there.
And as far as I can tell, when they say this section of the city, like Sector 17 or whatever, as far as I can tell,
Yeah.
it is literally this hospital. It is
Just the
literally the
hospital.
world's biggest hospital.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so Seagal and his team, his crack team, are sent in to make sure that there are no civilians in the area before they bomb it. And apparently, Keith David is being told by his superiors. Oh, Keith David, his character's name is Lieutenant Waters. I don't care. They refer to him as a colonel throughout the entire movie, but on the IMDb page, he is a lieutenant.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
On the Wikipedia page, he's Lieutenant Colonel Waters.
Oh, well, okay, there you go.
Really
Lieutenant
splitting the
Colonel.
difference
It's
there.
both of those things. So it's their job to like clear the area of civilians, because apparently at sunrise they must bomb Sector 17, There is no explanation given for this other than Keith David saying, "I'm sorry, boys. Those are my orders. I can't help it."
Well, and it's really just that he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Let's go ahead and bomb." And someone's like, "No, please don't. There's like maybe people in there." And he goes, "Okay, let's wait." And then he like gets a call. It's just like if you have a boss who's like kind of a micromanager, that's like, "Hey, why isn't this why isn't the spreadsheet done?" Like that's literally just his reason is like, my boss called and said he wants the bombing done, so I can give you till sunrise. But like their timeline for bombing changes 4 times throughout this movie.
And then he says something like, you know me, I hate to bomb innocent civilians if I don't have to, but those are my orders." Sorry.
Whoops, what you gonna do?
Anyway.
So the 2 groups of survivors spend the entire movie just walking through the hospital. And like they get up to problems, kind of. Like, there's one group that's like a found family. I don't think they're actually related.
No.
Because it's like a man and a woman who are about the same age, and then like a teenage guy, or maybe like early 20s guy, and like a young girl.
Yeah.
And then there's the other group, which is like they're a couple, and they like have to team up, and some of them die. Like the teenage boy, he's like a stoner, and so because he gets super high one time, he gets eaten by vampires because he can't make it out of this like storage room.
And every time he goes to like pop a whole bunch of pills, everybody just looks at him and says, "Don't do that." And he says, "All right." And then he does it anyway. And then they just roll their eyes. It's like a 70s. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like a cartoon.
And like, no one ever says, "No, like seriously, don't do that. Like, we need you to be alive because we're trying to survive this." Or like that's one way to take it. Or you could just like lean into the, depressing nature of this whole thing and say, "Hey, whatever. Like nothing really matters. We're all gonna die anyway, so go for it, I guess." Like either of those options would be fine. But again, one of these Seagal movies tries to split the difference and do neither. So they go through the whole movie. They walk through this hospital trying to find the main security door, quote unquote. Most of the people die. Except for the man from one group, the woman from the other group, and then the kid. They all live and have like a newfound family, and they're saved by Seagal and The Rock's cousin. And then the movie just kind of ends. Oh, and they bomb the hospital.
Yeah.
Flies in, bombs the hospital, and the movie's over.
They get 3 steps out of this hospital door, and like 7 planes fly in and carpet bomb the entire area like 5 times. Like they drop bombs, and then the people made it out safely. Like because their foot crossed the threshold of this hospital, you see like the door closing behind them, and then the zombies, vampires exploding. And the people just they're walking off. They're in a completely different, like they're just like, if they find a pickup truck and they're driving away.
Now, dear listener, I know it sounds like that recap might not have made a whole lot of sense when Aaron just said over and over and over again they're walking through the hospital. That was the whole movie. That was it. They were just walking through the hospital, and they kept saying, all of these hallways lead to the same place. It was like some,
it doesn't matter which
like
way we
a
go,
fairy
all lead
tale.
the same place.
Yeah, all of these roads lead to the Magic Kingdom, whatever. No, all these hallways lead to the security doors. We just have to keep following the hallways. They all get separated in like 18 different ways, and they all get separated with like each different groups, and they split up, and it's complete madness.
So, like we talk about, it's a trope at this point that in horror movies, like, they'll just decide to split up or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is literally no reason given for
No.
them to split up all the times that they split up.
I don't want.
Like, hey, let's split
They'll
up
just
and
say,
look for
I'm going to
supplies.
go check this
Hey,
out,
this
and
way's
then walk
blocked.
around
Let's
the
go
corner and
find
just
other
vanish.
ways. No.
No.
At least 5
Nope.
different times. I counted at least 5 different times where like the man of the group would go check something out and turn around and say, if you hear anything, run. And they always do. They run the other way. Even if the guy's totally fine, they run the other way, and all of a sudden
Totally
they're
fine
split
at
up.
like 15 feet in front of them.
Yeah. It's just like,
Except
and now they're
it's
split
impossible
up.
to tell. It's just the way this whole movie is shot. It's impossible to tell where anything is in relation to anything else.
Yeah. You don't
And I
know
think
which
the
group is
primary-
which and who's who.
Yeah.
And
I
It's
think the
also
primary
worth
reason for that,
mentioning.
go for it.
It's
also
worth
worth
mentioning.
mentioning.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, I think the primary reason for not knowing where anything is in relation to anything else is
also
because,
worth mentioning.
like, in the narrative, this hospital is absolutely gigantic. There is no hospital big enough to support the narrative of this film.
No.
No.
Like,
So this is-
they have to shoot it in all these like crazy close-ups, because if you showed the actual geography of the building, you would recognize instantly. We've been down this hallway like 8 times.
So
This
what is
movie is
worth
impossible.
mentioning, though, is that when we talk about these groups that just kind of move and split up for no reason or whatever, that in this Steven Seagal movie, that the vigilante mercenaries who are, you know, sent in to find and rescue the survivors, although I can't even really tell if they were sent in or they just happen to be there and the military happens to know they're there, like...
It's a little
Whatever.
unclear, yeah.
But they'll just randomly like show up and be like, "Hey, let's help you, the survivors," and then just like leave them and go do their own thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like at
multiple
the end,
times.
Like whenever there's only like 3 survivors left or whatever, Seagal makes this whole big show. Like he walks past the woman who just like killed a vampire zombie, like, you know, in the last scene, goes up to a man who's done literally nothing the entire movie, hands him a gun, and says, "That's a fully automatic pistol, so
Oh,
it'll
this
be
bothers
going
me
in
so
a."
much.
It's not. It's not a fully automatic. It's
not.
semi-automatic. It's only ever used as a semi-automatic. Like when he fires it, he fires one shot at a time.
He even says it goes quick, so you don't want to run empty.
So don't use it all in one place. Gives him the gun and then like leaves, and then like that guy dies, and then like Seagal and his like one remaining mercenary friend just like kind of, oh hey, we're back, and like join up with them again.
Yeah.
But they just went and just kind of fought. They didn't even say we'll hold him back or anything. They just
no.
go and just kind of mess around with zombies while the other group messes around with zombie vampires, and then rejoin and get and like that is the entire movie.
Well, and the survivors group will sometimes just leave them. Like they finally, I have in my notes, it is, hold on, I thought I had it. Maybe I don't have it written down. It is literally maybe 45 minutes or so into the movie before Seagal and his cronies meet up with the main cast of this story.
Yes.
Like they're shown in like 30-second clips. Every 5 minutes or so, you get like a 30-second clip of Seagal and his cronies walking through the streets, and Seagal will say, "Go, you know, check out that door. Make sure that street is clear." Something like that, stupid. And then that's it. That's all you get of him. And then you
or
get like
he will
5,
show up,
10.
just kind of wave his sword around and some zombie vampires die in front of him, or
Yeah.
he will just walk up, do like a cock his double barrel shotgun that is not a pump action shotgun, but they'll play the noise, and he'll just shoot a zombie through the chest, and then
Yeah.
just back to the survivors.
And that's it.
for
And then
20 minutes.
you're back to the survivors. 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and then you get back and you have another 30-second like clip of Seagal. It's so strange. So it is literally halfway through this movie that they actually finally meet up. They're saved. They have people with weapons. They have people that like know how to kill these vampires. And then they just like leave. They don't follow them.
Yeah, they just take a
They're
different
like-
turn down the hallway. Don't
Yeah.
tell anybody where they're going. Just
And
leave.
and it's not to go find the people that they mysteriously split up with for no reason.
Nope.
It's just like, "Oh, I'm going to go this way now." And it just doesn't, it was so frustrating. It was so
Also-
frustrating to watch because it was just garbage.
It's so funny because there's one bit where like legitimately the one guy in the group gets like kidnapped, and it's this like evil scientist guy who
Yeah.
has like a zombie vampire daughter, but she's kind of just like chill. She just hangs out there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not a zombie vampire, but I work with them. I feed her." And you think this guy is like the big bad, and then Seagal just like shows up and like shoots him and like rescues the guy, and they don't even talk about it. He doesn't even say, "Oh yeah, there was this guy with like a zombie vampire daughter." Like he just kind of gets back with the group, and he's like, "Huh, that was weird." Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's it.
Nope.
it is so weird. Like that entire character, the mad scientist character, why is he there?
That's the only way I can describe this movie, is that it is just frustrating. You would have to try. You would have to try so hard to get this lost in any hospital in the
Or, like-
entire world. I don't care how many like stupid roadblocks, you know, a whole bunch of crap in the hallway
Yeah.
put there. You could go another way. Hospitals are grids. Like they are meant to be traversed easily. This is not. It's not. Oh, it's just
And
so
you know what? They're not
frustrating
designed to be hard
watch.
to get out of.
Yes. It's just
Like-
so stupid. It's so
or-
stupid.
Or like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. The little girl, Charlotte. I say little girl. She's probably like 13, 14. Charlotte, played by Sky Bennett, who this same year recorded the voice for the GPS in Euro Truck Simulator.
Okay, wait. Okay, honestly, we're skipping ahead when we talk about the people's interesting like filmography. Sky Bennett probably does have the most interesting one because she was also in an earlier Steven Seagal movie. She plays his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, she's his daughter in which one is it? Shadow Man.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And then she's in like American and Euro Truck Simulator. And then if you're a Super Smash Bros. Fan, you're going to hate this because she's Pyra and Mithra from the Xenoblade Chronicles series. I haven't played those games. I know they're in Super Smash Bros. And a lot of people don't like that. But yeah, she just does like video game voice acting.
Yeah. So good for her.
But yeah, this is her second Steven Seagal movie. And Keith David's second Steven Seagal movie. We have alumnus in this movie.
Yeah. But my favorite scene is with her. She gets separated from the group for absolutely no reason. Because she is left alone with one of the adults, and one of the adults says, "I'm going to go this way now. You stay here. Stay safe. If you hear anything, run." And then, of course, she does. And so she runs away and gets lost in this hospital. And so she's like going down this hallway, and she's like trying to hide behind like a stack of boxes or whatever, but there's like a human head like wedged between a box and the wall. She freaks out, runs like 10 feet and sees like a blanket and the pillow on the floor and just decides to like take a nap in the hallway.
Yes.
And then like this vampire thing comes over and like starts like stroking her head like very creepily, and then gets found and shot and whatever.
Yeah, Seagal shows up out of nowhere and saves her.
Yeah, and saves her. But okay,
and then walks away.
Okay.
Can I shift gears on this for a little bit? Let's talk about genre.
So before you do that, I have one more thing to mention because everything else is fine. Like we've covered it. It's a stupid movie. None of it makes any sense. Whoever wrote it's a complete idiot. I won't back down on that.
Sorry, Matthew Klickstein.
Sorry, Matthew Klickstein. You messed up on this one. My biggest problem with this movie, this was 2009? Yeah, 2009. Yes. The like mid to late aughts were like jam packed with zombie everything. Like everything was zombies.
It was you couldn't escape from it.
This was the year before The Walking Dead came out. I think The Walking Dead came out in 2010. This was Zombieland was 2009.
This is about the time of like the Zombie Survival Guide book. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like this was
Call of Duty has zombies. Red Dead Redemption has zombies.
Yeah, everything is zombies.
This is wildly popular at this time. Just outrageously popular. It is difficult to make a zombie movie this bad in that climate. Yeah. It was so ridiculous. And I think the most aggravating part of all of it is that zombie movies and everything is about this. If you remember when The Walking Dead was really popular and everybody kept saying it's not about the zombies, it's about the people. The stories about the people and how they survive.
Because zombies as a creature are boring.
Exactly. The people in this movie are the dumbest survivors of any of these movies because they just, as they're traversing this hospital, none of them have any weapons. None of them have any like gun, sword, machete, whatever we would have. But they don't even try to like make them. They don't even try to like get a piece of furniture or a pipe or a 2x4 even. They just like let themselves get attacked by zombies and then throw them into the wall and run away. They don't grab for a chair to smash over their heads. They don't like try to fashion a sword or grab a screwdriver. It's like it's so frustrating to watch because every single time they get attacked by zombies, they just get attacked, and then they throw them on the floor and run away, and then they get attacked again and throw them on the floor and run away. And then they get attacked again and throw them on the floor and run away. And then they get attacked again, and then they die. I don't understand how you could screw this up, this concept. I don't understand how you can screw it up this bad in the time that this was made. I know, Zach, you've had your hand up for a while.
I want to talk about genre in a second.
I just had to get
that
that
have your hand
out.
up. Go for it.
Well, I just had a quick question for Hans. You're saying in 2008, 2009, like it was impossibly like stupidly easy to get like funding and have the ability to make like a zombie movie. Like it's impossible to mess up a zombie movie. You should be able to make a zombie movie easy. Hans, this is a vampire movie, so maybe you should lay off them a little bit.
That was what you had? That's why you had your hand raised?
Have you ever considered how hard it would be to make a good vampire movie in 2008, 2009?
So that's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about genre for a second. Let's be actual film critics.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do some genre criticism here.
Because I'm just frustrated now. I'm irritated.
I'm gonna take this into a real academic space here. Let's be genre critics for a second. Let's look at this through the lens of genre criticism.
Yes,
So
mise en scène. Yes.
in the yeah, let's put our mise en place and so in the horror genres, right? So I think this has a lot of the framing of a horror movie or like a horror action movie, even though there's very little action. Well, there's action, but it all sucks. So it feels like there's no action. There's like what defines the different kinds of movie monsters are the rules. Like there are rules about vampires, rules about zombies. There are rules about, Frankenstein's monsters, things,
Sort of universal guidelines.
Yeah, universal guidelines. This tries to kind of split the difference in a couple ways. What are the rules? I actually struggled throughout the movie to figure out what are the rules with these zombies. Because we've been calling them vampires the whole time. The movie calls them vampires. They are, from what I can tell about how the genre works, these are zombies. But they're like a little bit different. They just borrow like a couple things from vampires, which actually makes the zombies, I think, less interesting. Or potentially more interesting, but the movie has no idea how to capitalize on that.
Well, okay. See, that's the thing. The part that sticks out to me, the part that is very strange, is that when it begins, we can joke about, haha, they call them vampires, but they're really zombies. Ignore that. Just call them zombies the whole time. You're fine. The part that's really weird to me is that they're just like bloodthirsty and eating guts and gross blood and everything. And then it kind of introduces the fact that the zombies talk.
Yeah,
it
some of
introduces
them
the
can
fact
talk.
that they are intelligent and they're and that they recognize hey, we're not an aberration, we are not a disease, we are the next evolution of humanity. Now that the world is full of us, you are just going around killing us. This is our society. We are the next stage of humanity. You are the monsters and you are the bad guys. And then the movie does nothing with that.
No,
So I thought legitimately when I was reading up on this movie, first of all, watching this movie, I thought I was losing my mind too. Because you have the zombie that's just blah, 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 chasing a woman and she shuts the door. And then he literally leans up to the window and he's in a weird early 2000s, Spy Kids voice changer, come closer. I have a secret for you. Come closer. I just want to talk. I just want to talk. Just come closer. And she's like, no. And he's like, please. And multiple of these zombies say we're the next evolved creature. But the weirdest thing is I'm looking at people talking about this movie and I see people comparing it to Blade. I see people, comparing it to other zombie movies. I even see people comparing it to Resident Evil. I'm seeing all these comparisons.
No.
I started watching this movie 20 minutes in. I'm like, this is I Am Legend. He made I Am Legend. This came out in 2009. I Am Legend came out, the movie, in 2007. The book was in the 60s or something. But
I never actually saw that.
I'm not surprised. But you should watch it with the alternate ending. But because that makes a lot more sense. Again, similarly, I Am Legend actually has the same problem if you watch it with the original theatrical ending. Anyway, this is not the, I Am Legend fan cast.
No.
But I was so confused because they are hey, we're evolved. We're not actually the real monsters. You're the real monster. It is quite literally the plot of I Am Legend. I have not seen a single... It's the opposite problem I had with Under Siege is Die Hard on a Boat. I thought this was going to be all over. Everyone was going to be like, wow, this is I Am Legend 2 years later. I have not seen a single review or person... I'm not saying they haven't, but I looked and I have not seen a single person mention this is I Am Legend. It is literally I Am Legend, but just dumber and like not actually like meaning to be I Am Legend. I can't figure out the plot reason why these zombies sometimes display intelligence and like even smugness at the fact that they're not human. Like a character gets bit. One of the named characters in for most of this movie gets bitten, and at the end now she's like, come join us. Like, hey, you should join our side. We're the zombies. Like, we're cooler.
That was the one that got me, because as far as we were aware as the audience of this movie, the vampires, the zombies, that's what they are, work like normal, like the normal rules, like exactly what you were saying, Aaron. They work like the normal rules, so they would be the virus is airborne. Everyone contracts the virus. You can't not contract the virus. There's no vaccine. They talk about that in the very beginning. And then when you die, you are reanimated as a zombie. I thought that's how that worked. Turns out that's not how that works. No. If you are bitten, then you just like
or
turn?
Even just like scratched.
Or yeah, but the one guy was scratched.
Which is how it works in some zombie media. Like you have to be like bitten or infected directly by a zombie. Like that's how it works.
But then that infection kills you, and then you are reanimated. This woman was not dead.
Oh, she never died.
She never died. She was bitten, and then she quote unquote turned extremely fast. She said, "Get out of here, so I don't like hurt you." And then she, 3 minutes later, found them. That's not exaggeration either. It was less than 3 minutes. Like she was bitten, said, "Get out of here, take the kid. I don't want to hurt you." And then she like turned right back around and said, "I'm gonna get you." And it was just I was so confused, because up until that point that hadn't been established. The whole movie worked like normal zombies up until that point. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No, if you're looking for, we can't even necessarily call them like universal themes, because like our understanding of how monsters work changes over time and changes in different cultures and such. But if you're looking for any kind of cohesive framing for how the monsters in this fiction work, they don't.
No.
Yeah, the rules change from scene to scene. Because
the rules change from line to line.
Well, because like there was this one cutaway to a zombie lady like filing her own teeth down.
Yep.
To make them
She's
sharper.
Even credited.
She's even credited as woman filing teeth.
Nice.
Never comes back up.
She never comes back up again. You don't see her like now she has her filed teeth. She like tries to like bite someone. You never see her again. Literally the only thing she does in the movie is file her teeth down.
And that was in the very beginning, and it gave a real
this is our main villain.
Yeah, it gave me a sense of like, this is what the movie's going to be about, and I was actually kind of psyched about it. I was like, wow, exactly what you said, Aaron. Like, this one is weird. Like, this is weird. We don't usually get weird Seagal movies. Like, this is really weird.
I was like excited at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, same. And I also like really freaked me out, because like teeth grinding, like that whole thing, like that's one of those things that gives me the shivers. So when I see somebody grinding their teeth away, I was like, ooh, ooh. Don't like that. And then it never came back up.
Yeah, I'm like, this feels like a zombie movie, but like this zombie is intelligent and like filing her teeth down, doing like weird stuff. Oh, this is great. She's gonna be a great villain. Never comes up again.
Again,
you never see her again.
Here's like a weird surgeon guy who like is working with his infected daughter, and he's not infected. Oh, nope. Oh, he's done.
Oh, okay. He's dead. Yeah. It wasn't even a big deal. The guy comes back, not even phased. He's like, man, that was weird.
And like he was like tied up in his lab and going to be infected or whatever, and he's just okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Kidnapped and was almost fed to a small child.
No one even comments on it.
This is like
no one even comments on it.
Nope.
So like,
God, this movie was frustrating. It's just so. That's the only thing I can say. So frustrating.
Even if it had chosen if it had stuck with a less complex vision of a zombie, I would have been more fine with it.
Yeah.
Like if none of the zombies talked, I think it actually would have been more interesting, or at least more cohesive.
Sure. Because then there wouldn't have been that confusion. There wouldn't have been the like with the zombie that was like pawing at the girl as she was like taking a nap out of nowhere. Yeah, like that. It didn't follow the rules.
Add
they just
to the movie?
Switch between being completely ravenous back to like display like let me it never matters. It doesn't matter. They could just be bloody and ravenous the whole time, and it'd be fine.
That's not to say that you can't. It's not to say that you have to follow the rules. Like you can do something completely unique. Like that's okay.
Please
Plenty
do.
of movies do that. Absolutely. but you have to you have to explain it. You have to make your own rules, and you have to make those rules known to the viewer.
Yeah. So like one of the rules of horror, actually, it's kind of a weird paradoxical rule. I don't like horror movies, but I do like movies, and so I read about this. But like one of the things that makes a horror movie actually scary is that the villain can't break the rules. Like there are very strict rules about how a movie monster operates. And when the movie monster begins to break rules, unless you're super, super careful about it, and there are like rules about how he can break rules, the movie monster ceases to be scary and just becomes like confusing, and it takes you out of it. So like one of the things
takes you out of the immersion.
Like vampires specifically, like because they call them vampires, I'm going to talk about vampires for a second. Because vampires are defined by their rules. They're just humans, except they have these really specific rules. And that's like a vampire is immortal and drinks blood. And that like they need to drink blood and you can't kill them very easily. That's what makes them scary. But they have all these limitations that makes them to be like different and otherworldly, and their limitations add to the horror of the idea of the monster. When, in this movie, you're just constantly changing the rules about the monster. Mm-hmm. There isn't really a monster. There are just scenes strung together that have no connection to each other. Like, there isn't one monster in this movie. There are, like, 5 different kinds of monsters depending on what's happening in the scene. And so I never know if anything that the characters are doing is going to be effective or not. Like, I can't say, no, idiot, don't lay down in the middle of the hallway, because maybe the zombie will just walk by, pet your head, and keep going. Like, because that's kind of what happened. There's no reason to believe that the zombie wouldn't just say, I don't really feel like it today, and keep going. Like, the whole point of a zombie is that they're relentless and almost impossible to kill, and that there are thousands of them. Like, that's what makes them scary. But in this, you never see more than, like, 10 zombies in a room at a time. They're very easy to kill. Like, you can shoot them in the gut and they'll fall over and die. One zombie, I wrote in my notes, does it harm a zombie to get kicked in the balls? Like, there's one zombie that gets kicked in the crotch and like grabs his crotch and falls over. Like, what? Why would a zombie care about that? That shouldn't hurt a zombie. Like, one of the things that makes a zombie is that they're almost impossible to harm. But sometimes they act like that, and sometimes they don't.
It's funny they
so
talk
what
about
monster
this, like,
am I
the
dealing
rules.
with?
Because Sarah was like gone for a conference last week, so I just, the house became like a Mojo Dojo Casa house while she was gone. Nice. I just played like Tony Hawk Pro Skater and watched Wes Craven movies.
Yeah. Did you drink some brewski beers?
Had some brewskis. But I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, and that is just like a classic. Like, that is the perfect movie for like. It is scarier because there are rules. Like, the characters, like, it's their 7th day of not being able to sleep, because if they go to sleep, Freddy Krueger can kill them in the dream world, and she's like just trying to stay awake. So there's a tension when like you find out the guy who's supposed to be like keeping her awake, like, he falls asleep, so now she's in danger. Like, if halfway through the movie Freddy's just like, hey, what's up, you're awake, I don't have to be in your dream, I can just kill you now, like,
what was the point of you lose the sort?
Like, the rules don't exist for nerds to memorize, like, monster movie rules. The rules exist to give you like attention. Like, as long as this doesn't happen, I am safe. Oh no, that just happened. That's horror. Yeah. And like, to see, like, just to go from a master of the form with Nightmare on Elm Streets to Against the Dark. Yeah. Could not be more stark.
Yeah. It's the rules in horror specifically matter. And this movie did not decide what the rules are. Also, it is a great tragedy that Seagal is like front and center on the poster for this movie. And
because he's not the main character.
He's not the main character. He's barely a character.
So far away from being the main character.
He's a supporting side character for the B plot.
Yeah. If anything, who was the other guy? Who was the
Taggart, played by Sonoy Reed.
I bet you, I didn't even think about this until right now when you said that, he has more screen time than Seagal.
Oh, absolutely.
He has more lines.
He has more lines. He goes off like on his own to clear out rooms of the hospital to help out the survivors. He has more screens. Like Seagal is.
He has fight scenes.
You're absolutely
with
right. He's the
choreography.
supporting character of the B plot.
Keith David, who is literally in like one military tent in like one location the entire movie, and whose lines consists of "No, let's not bomb yet. Okay, let's bomb soon," has more screen time and more lines than Seagal.
Yeah, but it's Seagal. It's not even his body. It's his head photoshopped onto somebody's body. It's so obvious on the poster.
Okay, so can I talk? Well, it's Seagal holding his sword that he kind of uses sometimes with like two faces that don't look anything. I think it's actually just the same face twice. Doesn't look anything like what any of the monsters look like in the actual movie.
No, those look like vampires.
Those don't exist in the movie.
No.
Can I talk about why I was losing my mind? Like, I think legitimately 5 seconds into this movie starting.
Yeah, go
please
for it.
do.
This, I click play, and normally it doesn't happen as fast. I am like less than 10 seconds in, and I am hooting and I am hollering. Like, I do not lie. So first of all, one, because this movie opens with both an on-screen dictionary definition of the word infect, by the way.
That's my first note.
Doing the classic like dictionary definition, and also opens with a character's opening monologue saying, "Now we are fighting against the dark."
Okay, so
But
I actually gave it points for that because this is the first time in
title
like
makes sense.
10 movies that the title has had anything
Yes.
to do with the
normally
movie.
it's just, this is maybe a thing that Seagal thought sounded cool.
yeah.
This time, like the title, I'm like, oh, okay, we're against the dark in the first minute. I understand.
Nice,
But
okay, good.
Let me
has
me
nothing to do
share
with the
my
rest of
screen
the
real
movie, but at least it's in the opening monologue.
Well, no, they are. They're fighting against the dark. Both they're fighting against the dark of the
What am I looking at?
like the
Okay.
modern times of how zombies take over everything. But they're fighting against. It's like against the clock because they have to get out before morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, this
Like,
is the most
it
relevant
has-
the title's been. But just
Yeah.
hearing a character say the actual words against the dark in the movie, amazing. But
Amazing.
also, this pops up on screen when it says infect, when it's given the dictionary definition of infect.
Yeah.
So
And there's,
we'll
the pronunciation guide next to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll include this in like, you know, screenshots or whatever, but it's like just like the word infect, like white text on a black screen with like this kind of like light streaks, like, you know, effects kind of going on. Do you want to know why this was getting
Why
into
did
my
this
core?
drive you insane? Oh no!
Because this thing pops up and I just go, is that the Twilight font? Like even with the little shimmers kind of like coming off of it.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not exact, but it's
That's
enough that I'm
pretty
watching this movie
close.
and it pops up and I'm like, this is the Twilight font.
pretty close.
It is a vampire movie. It has the Twilight font.
That eye is like really,
Yeah.
and the T is not identical.
No.
It's pretty
but
close,
That's
though.
pretty close.
It's like the serifs are slightly different.
Yeah,
But this like pops. This is like the first thing you see on screen, and I go, I think this movie's using the Twilight font while a character is reading a monologue where they say the title of the movie and the dictionary definition of the word infect, which of all the words is not the one I need to find. They should have popped up a definition of the word vampire or zombie. That's what they needed to define. So 5 seconds in, I thought buckle up, and then the rest of the movie just lost me. Like, I think a marker of when a movie is bad is if I'm watching it and I start to think, like, I could just go do my laundry right now. And sure enough, I'm watching this, and I'm just thinking, I could be folding laundry. And I got my laundry, and I started folding my laundry, and I was folding my laundry while watching this movie. Because that was a better way to stay entertained.
So one of my favorite things, this movie will just like introduce new ideas, like into
Ideas in very big quotes.
well, just like new rules and new things into the narrative with zero warning and zero context. So like maybe like an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, one of the characters says, "I'm immune, remember?" And I have in my notes, "No, this is the first you've mentioned it."
I didn't catch that.
An hour and 15 minutes into the movie,
Are you serious?
we discover that one of the characters is immune and has known this the entire time, and says to the other character, like he's about to like go into this room to like fight some zombies or whatever, and he says, "I'm immune. It's okay.
Without
I'm
a
immune.
weapon.
Remember?" It's like, "No, this is the first time you've mentioned this."
And
I do not
specifically,
remember.
they have mentioned before, you can't be immune to this. Nobody's immune. Everybody's susceptible to this. Like, they spell that out pretty clearly earlier in the
Yeah.
movie. Everybody was affected.
So sometimes they'll say everyone is affected, and then sometimes they'll say like certain. There is one like throwaway line that, well, there were like certain people who were immune or like half immune. So some people, when they get infected, don't turn into like mindless flesh eaters, but are like that little girl from the Mad Scientist guy who just like are pretty much normal. They're just like jerks now.
Yeah. She
they're
just has
just like
her teeth filed down and like wants to eat
just-
flesh, but
just normal, but they are cannibals and evil. Retain all their intelligence. They just eat human flesh now. That's pretty much the only difference. So this throughout this whole movie, they'll just like throw in a new twist, like every 20 minutes or so. That was not foreshadowed and never referenced again.
And not really fully explained.
The only character who actually does get like a plant and then a payoff. Did anybody notice this? At the very beginning of the movie, Seagal and his team save a little boy at the beginning of the movie
Yeah.
from being eaten by zombies. The boy comes back at the end of the movie, except now he's a zombie.
Oh, was that the same kid?
I'm pretty sure that's the same kid.
He was the one that bit the woman who
Yeah.
then turned without dying.
Yeah.
oh,
So at the beginning of the movie, we get Seagal saving, quote
Structure.
unquote, this kid, and then just immediately abandoning him,
Just
like he does
abandons
everyone he quote unquote saves.
He says some super cheesy line about how you have to decide whether you want to live or die, and then
Yeah,
walks
yeah.
away.
well, no, he says,
child.
what is it? It's like, we don't decide what's right and wrong. Like,
Oh, this
we don't
is
decide what to do.
oh,
We just decide who lives and who dies. or
this is
something.
my favorite line of the movie.
yes,
I
yes,
wrote
yes.
it down. We're not here to
Oh.
decide who's right or wrong. We're here to decide who lives and dies.
Sure.
What?
That's the theme
Okay.
of the movie.
That really doesn't have anything to do with anything, really.
That is his longest line in the movie.
Yeah. No, the only other one is similarly illogical. Well, the thing of it is, we do what we have to do. We hunt and we kill, and then we move on. So I think that's the only explanation for why he shows up, saves them, and goes, okay, see ya.
And then he moves on.
Like, he interprets that very literally. Not like, oh, we clear out this area and then we move on to the next one. No, it's literally like, I saved you in this interaction. Okay, I'll see you in 5 minutes because I'm going to move on and then come back.
Yeah, I saved you from the immediate danger that you're in. I don't care about any future dangers.
Yeah,
Like, if you
Seagal's
get in
basically
trouble
like
later-
the American healthcare system.
Don't care. Not my problem anymore. I saved you from this particular danger. So there was one thing that I'll give the movie props for, actually.
Really?
Well, so in the course of doing something very, very dumb, it gets one super specific thing correct, which a lot of things don't. So they get to this one hallway that's like blocked off, leads into like I think it's like the pharmacy area of whatever, the hospital or something. And the hallway is blocked off with a bunch of chairs, and there's written in blood over the like door that leads to this hallway, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here,"
Yes.
Yeah.
which I think to some people might sound like a misquote, because the way that we often hear that quoted is "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," which is incorrect. John Milton, when he wrote that in Paradise Lost, the original line is "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." It got it right. So bravo to that. Everything else about that scene made no sense. Like if
Well,
That's a
I'm glad we've
low
now
bar.
referenced John Paradise Lost in this Against the Dark podcast review. We've made sure to hit all the notes that we need to.
Yeah. Oh, and then one other thing
It's
that
a really
just
low
one
bar.
thing that I liked, just like some stuff that I liked. Another thing that I liked, the girl who's like filing her teeth down. She walks over to a body that she has hanging from the ceiling and like cuts it a little bit to like have some blood drip down. She holds a coffee mug up to it as like that's like her morning cup of coffee. And the coffee has a picture of a beagle on it that says "I'm allergic to Mondays," and I thought that was funny.
Wait, I completely missed that. That's hilarious.
And she like holds that out under this corpse hanging from the ceiling as if it's like her
That's
morning
amazing.
cup of
That should be
coffee.
in a much better movie.
Yep. Also, this movie is just like super, super gory the entire time.
Yeah. Well, because they're literally just juggling like intestines, just chilling. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you want some of these? Hey, thanks. I'll have some of
Yeah.
these.
So,
Yeah.
but They're kind of not though. It looks anytime they have somebody that's like, pawing at a body, it's like they have like a bunch of stained red rags that are all wet, and like that's what they're picking up. Like they didn't the props department didn't have enough cash to actually be like picking up bits of intestine, like fake intestines. They just had like wet rags that they were squeezing.
I very much like the scene when the man like goes down the elevator shaft and he's like in the water, and then the zombie gets him, because this entire time the zombie's like clawing at him, biting him. He is like inches away from like any part of the man. Like he is biting at the air, like not even pretending to bite this guy. And also the whole time, like you can see his like zombie makeup paint like ends at his wrist, and then you see a good couple inches of his arm, like and you just see his normal like human toned flesh there. And the same, like he has it on his face. It's like, when you don't blend the makeup, like you just see his human neck, and like you see his skin like as they flail around, because they didn't paint enough of him and like they had to film it. They had to notice that. It's so much. You're seeing his whole human arm, and then also, like immediately turned to green at the hand, and they just went, nope, we're moving on.
That entire scene made absolutely no sense. So the whole team, everybody, gets into this elevator to go down to the bottom floor, because that's where the main security door is. And so they make it almost to the bottom floor, but then the elevator cuts out because there's like not enough power for them to get down. And so Seagal's like, there's like a access hatch around here somewhere, somebody find it. And so they do. And then they just decide like, well, one of us has to go down there. No, you don't. You can just like pry the door open. Like you can get out of this elevator just by prying the door open. But anyway, they go through this access hatch, and they're like, one of us has to go down there. And so one of the survivor guys is like, oh, I guess I'll do it. I'll sacrifice myself. Sacrifice yourself for what? And then he goes down underneath this elevator, and the elevator shaft is inexplicably full of water. And he gets eaten by this water zombie, and then dies. And then Seagal, Seagal like waits until the guy's dead, and then shoots the zombie. And then closes the hatch, and then the elevator gets its power back, and they go down to the floor they need to, and the door opens and they leave. Like, if everybody had waited like 30 seconds, everything would have been fine.
It's frustrating.
But Aaron, they had to get out. They were fighting against the dark. They had to get out before sunrise.
That sort of reminds me of something, because this is another thing I had a problem with throughout this movie.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me.
Their whole problem, as far as they know, yes, there's like the military aspect of it, there's the B plot, but the survivors don't know about that. Even when like the hunters come in, they don't tell them about it. They just help them to get out of the building. They don't let the survivors know that this hospital is going to be bombed.
Happening? Do they ever demonstrate that the hunters know a bomb?
Oh, maybe they don't.
They're not like in communication with the military at all.
Oh, that's true. You know what? Maybe they don't even know. Either way, like that's not the threat. The threat is simply that they need to get out of the building before the building loses power, because then they won't be able to open the door to get out of the building, right?
Yeah.
So like that's the looming threat here. Obviously there's the zombies, but they need to get out of the building so that the door can actually open while they still have power. They know that the generators, the reserve generators or whatever, are going to run out of power before sunrise. That's the whole thing. They're working against the dark. That's the whole movie, right?
I could have been watching before sunrise. I could have been watching before sunrise. They should have called this movie Before Sunrise.
So throughout the entire movie, the lights are like flickering on and off, and they keep talking about how the generator is starting to fail. That's not how generators work. They work just fine. They output the same amount of electricity as they always do until they run out of fuel, and then they turn off. That's not. There's no lights flickering. There's no
for an hour before it finally dies.
Yeah, there's no talking about how the generator is slowly coming to an end. It's working as long as it is working until it runs out of fuel, and then it shuts off. That's just how they work. So the whole premise is stupid. But more than that, I know The Walking Dead, the show, came out, I think it was a year after this movie. But there's an episode in The Walking Dead where they have that concept is like the enemy of that episode. They find a safe, they find the, it's not the FDA, what's the office?
Oh, the
that
CDC?
They find? Yeah,
building?
the CDC office. They find the CDC building. The guy locks them inside and says that they find out later on that they're running out of fuel. The generator doesn't have any more fuel. Whatever's in there is the last of it. And when that fuel is finished and the generator shuts down and the facility loses power, then because there are like viruses contained in freezers or whatever that could potentially be released into the world, that's really, really bad, obviously, the CDC built in a backup plan so that the whole building would catch fire and explode and erase all trace of those contaminants, and you have to leave the building before that happens. And the main guy locks them all in there and says that's going to be a more graceful death than being eaten by zombies. Like, that's the whole plot.
I remember that episode.
Like, we've all seen it. It's a good episode. That's like, that's real drama. Like, that's a real problem that they had to face. And I understand that came out after this movie. It's not like this movie could have known that was coming, although it was based on the comic book and that came out years and years and years before. The point is,
also, that's a zombie TV show. This is a vampire movie. It's completely different.
But the vampires and zombies don't play into that part, right? Like, the part of that is the tension there.
Right.
Is that they're locked in the building and they have to get out of the building because when the generator runs out of fuel, the building's going to explode and they're going to die. In this movie, they have to get out of the building before the generator runs out of fuel because the door won't open when you push the button. That's not how, like, I know we've hammered this to death. I know we've talked about this, but that's the whole, like, main plot of the movie. They have to get out of there before the generator runs out of power. They're not even concerned about, like, they don't talk about the lights. They don't talk about how they'll be, like, in the dark and they won't be able to see the zombies coming, whatever. No. Their main concern is they have to be able to get out, otherwise the door won't open. It's a freaking door! You don't need power to open a door! Like, oh my God. It's just so... It's just so... frustrating. It's a
frustrating movie all around, I think.
It's very frustrating.
Can I talk about one more frustrating thing that segues into my favorite line in the movie?
Sure, yeah.
Yes, please.
So, my personal favorite line in the movie is a Keith David one, of course, because literally anything he says. But also, they have established, like, we got these vigilantes these mercenaries that they go around and they, like, clear out areas. They just go and they, like, take out, zombies, look for survivors, then, like, move on. And they even say something like, oh, they're in, like, Sector G7, that's the worst one. Like, oh, they're not going to be able to clear that out before sunrise. Like, the entire world has been taken over by these zombies, and apparently they're starting a whole zombie civilization where, they are more evolved than us, but we're not going to talk about that. But, like, they are just everywhere. Apparently the military is still mounting a strong resistance, and they can send out just mercenaries to go look for survivors, whatever. And they talk about, this is the worst, oh my gosh, this is the worst, most violent area.
Which is just this one random hospital.
This giant random hospital, which, by the way, we haven't mentioned, has, like, 13 establishing shots throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they just keep showing the same, like, the front... Whoever made the miniature or the matte painting for this hospital or whatever, they wanted to make sure they got their money's worth. They just show the same front of this hospital. Like, it's like when you're watching a TV show and they come back from commercial break and, like, do the establish, like, the Always Sunny or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they show the establishing shot of, like, the bar or the police station or whatever. But this doesn't have commercial breaks. It's a movie, but they still do that every, like, 15 minutes. Anyway, but the people escape. They do the bombing run. And they complete the bombing run, and then they're magically, I don't know, now they're in communication with the mercenaries again or whatever, because they get communication like, they managed to get out, like, Seagal and his team and, like, 3 survivors managed to get out before the bombing, and they're all, like, doing the end of the movie military, like, high fives and handshakes all around, like, we did it, boys. And
excellent work, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, they get to the end of this, and Keith David literally just says, all right, everyone, let's go home. And I'm like, you don't still have a whole world? Like, what do you mean go home? What home? It's the zombie apocalypse.
Well, it's the zombie apocalypse. Let's go home to the hospital that we just bombed the ever-loving
A total of 5 people made it out alive. You bombed one. I mean, they show them carpet bombing, like, an entire, like, 10-mile radius, but in order for the survivors to live, they just bomb this one hospital. But whatever, they bomb Sector G7, the worst sector. And just that, literally the end of the movie is them cheering and Keith David going, "All right, everyone, let's go home." And then the credits roll.
So I actually
By far the best line in that movie.
I have a headcanon.
Okay,
I have a
sure.
Headcanon for
Yes,
this movie.
that's a sentence you can say, I guess.
Because I think actually it's just like a couple city blocks that are infected. And just
I mean, okay, go off.
because for a few reasons. One, because like Keith David says, "Okay, everybody pack up, go home, it's
Okay,
fine."
let's go. Okay, we did our job. Mission
It's
accomplished.
like, zombie apocalypse over. Vampire apocalypse over. Like, it doesn't matter. Two, the people in, like, our survivors that were following around know nothing about how these zombies work. Like, they're constantly asking each other, like, I was scratched by it. Is that an infection or not? I don't know. Does anybody know how this works? Like,
It just says we were scratched by it, and they don't question it. They just say, "Yeah, but they can smell blood."
yeah. Like,
That's
they
it.
just seem to make up the rules on the fly. Like, no one seems to know what the rules are.
Yep.
Nobody knows how many survivors there are. Like, several times, the characters, like these two families that get mushed together, they are pretty sure they're like their last survivors on Earth. Like, there are several
Other
lines
than
about
like the entire United States military,
yeah,
because they don't even seem panicked. They're just kind of chilling there. They're not
Yeah.
in like a little bunker or anything. They're just kind of set up, just chilling.
yeah. The military guys just come in like they're fine. They're like not even taking precautions against that. You never see
Yeah.
any zombies come over and like try to hit the military guys or anything.
No.
I think it might just be a few city blocks that these people happen to live in, and they haven't made it out of that space. And like, there's no information about how long the zombie outbreak has been going on. It seems to be pretty new.
Yeah, because everything's still working.
Yeah, everything still works. Like, the backup generator in this hospital has like it's still going, which means it has plenty of fuel.
I do like that in the hospital, all the screens just say like emergency broadcast on, and the emergency broadcast is like saying, "Please evacuate." And somebody says like, "It's the same thing in every place we've been in."
Yeah.
Like, apparently every single building in America has the same exact emergency generator and power system that like takes place over the loudspeaker and all computer monitors.
Yeah. So in my headcanon for this movie, it's like just a few city blocks that are infected by zombie vampires, and these people here are just idiots.
I mean, yeah, that directly goes against like the canon of like what this movie establishes. Like, it outright says like everyone's been infected, the whole world's dead. But your explanation makes more sense. Like,
Actually,
that doesn't,
no.
what the movie tells you doesn't square with what happens.
The person
in the
who
movie.
says that is one of the survivors.
Oh, unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I think there's an unreliable
okay.
narrator in the opening
Okay,
monologue.
You're right.
Because they also talk about knowing that there are hunters out there and hoping that they'll come save them, and then one of them goes, "That's just an urban legend."
Yeah, some of the people think that hunters don't exist. Like, they've never seen one. Like, they haven't been living in this zombie apocalypse for a long time. Like, this is so there are several lines that indicate this is a
Okay.
brand new outbreak. They've never met any other survivors. Both groups of survivors have never met any other survivors.
I think they have.
They said, "Oh, I haven't seen anybody else in months." Like,
Yeah.
how long has this been going on? Has
Yeah,
it been
it doesn't
months, or has it been
seem
like
like
a couple
months.
days? Because the backup generator in this hospital is still going.
Yeah, I don't know much about those things, but I can't imagine they have
Yeah.
that much
That's
fuel.
that's my theory. That it was just like a couple city blocks, and the military actually wiped out the whole thing. The reason the military sent in planes to blow up these few city blocks is because this is like the beginning of the outbreak, and they just destroyed the whole thing and said, "Oh, okay, it's done now." Didn't go anywhere else.
Although,
Honestly,
it is funny
I
that you
like
say
that theory.
Yeah, I mean, the theory works, and it's just funny that you say that, because they like the way they at the start of the movie, it does seem like this hospital is just like in a city, but I'm pretty sure at the end when they do the bomb and run, it's just like the hospital is weirdly like on top of a mountain with like
They
nothing
did
else
show
surrounding it.
that.
So when you say these city blocks again, your theory kind of like the movie contradicts that, because like you mean by
They
city
showed,
blocks
like, a
you mean this
topographical
one
map.
gigantic like TARDIS of a hospital that is infinitely large inside. Like this, not even the zombies. The hospital itself is like an SCP or something. The hospital on the mountain in the middle of nowhere that is infinitely large and has one exit.
Yeah.
That all hallways lead to.
Hallways lead to. That is legit like an SCP like entry.
Oh, is this an SCP entry? Like, has someone made
is this an SCP entry?
an SCP entry about this?
For the hospital from Against the Dark?
Yeah.
No, I don't have to check. No, they didn't do that. There's no way that exists.
Oh, we could write that one.
Sure. Maybe this podcast can finally produce something interesting. But
Aaron, I really like that theory. If for no other reason, then they're talking about like Sector G7. They're talking about it as though they have, like, they can't classify the entire world or even the entire United States or the entire.
That's the best part.
Yes.
It's just because it is so frustrating. Like the more we're talking about it, the more I'm thinking about it. They're classifying Sector G7. Oh, it's the most dangerous one. What is that? Of how many sectors? That means there are at least the number of the alphabet G times at least 7.
Or it's like SEAL Team 6, where they just say SEAL Team 6, so you think this is SEAL Team 1 through 5. Also, I just said, don't take my word that it's actually G7. I don't remember what the name of this was.
Okay, but you get my point, though. Yes. Like, you can't classify the entire state of Pennsylvania in sectors that are small enough to encompass like a hospital and the tiny surrounding area. Like, if this is a global pandemic, then there's like they can't be. That's not how that would work. That's not how they would target something in that way. It wouldn't make any sense. And the more I think about it, the more angry I'm getting.
Yeah. I think this whole zombie outbreak is at maximum like a couple cities.
I like that. I like that headcanon.
And just like these people have been
that's
so
the
cut
only
off
explanation
from the rest of humanity that they think it's a worldwide outbreak and it's not.
I accept that. I accept that as canon. That's valid.
That's the only way I can make sense of this whole thing.
Are we able to put this movie to rest? Are we able to see the sunrise and put this movie to rest behind us?
Yeah, I think so. Favorite lines?
Oh, all hallways lead to the same place. Why? That doesn't track. Doesn't make any sense. There's not even. They say it all the time. All of these hallways lead to the service entrance. What? Why? There's no reason for that. Oh, I know because I work here. Okay.
What?
Sure. Oh, so frustrating.
I mean, I of course like, all right, everyone, let's go home. I do also appreciate like one of Seagal's like 4 lines when he introduces himself, just because the line itself isn't like that amazing, but he just says like, "I'm Tao," and then like they do like a like this. Like,
I should know who that is. Oh, also he says "I'm Tao" like an hour into the movie.
Yes,
that's the first time we hear his name.
And they try to make it cool with this guitar, so I do appreciate that.
It is like we can't stress enough. We've talked about it so much, but we cannot stress enough. This man is not even remotely close to being the main character in this movie, as you would imagine he would be based on the poster. Yeah. Like, he is so far away. He is above the 2 women on his strike team who are killed almost immediately, and below everyone else.
You could completely remove him and not change the plot at all.
No.
It's so absurd.
He does almost nothing in this movie. My favorite line, we're not here to decide who's right or wrong. We're here to decide who lives or dies.
Well, they decide to let a lot of people die.
They decide to let a lot of people die.
Like, most of the named characters die. And
no one at any point intimates that they desire to decide who's right or wrong. That is not
they're not resolving the conflict or anything
in the movie.
No.
Not anything anybody cares about. My second favorite line, I'm immune, remember?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't.
Remember.
You have not mentioned that up to this point. Like an hour and 20 minutes into this movie. Yeah.
I forgot to mention this earlier real quick. We talk about how Seagal doesn't run in a lot of these movies. This is the first time where I've seen that extend to like literally every single extra on screen. At the end of the movie, they get to the door, they hit the button. It doesn't work at first, but then it just works. They hit the button and the door opens and they're all ready to leave. And then they like hit the button again and close the door behind them and they run out the door. And like the vampires, whatever. I just appreciate that, like, you would think that, you know, when you're directing that scene, you'd be like, okay, your ravenous zombies trying to chase after the last survivors, like, just go wild with it, just like sprint. Like, I'm picturing the one, like, one of the clickers in the Last of Us TV show. I don't know who that extra was, but this man just absolutely, like, eats it going over a counter. Like, he is on screen for 10 seconds and he fully utilizes all of those 10 seconds. Nobody in this movie is displaying that level of commitment.
No.
Because it just shows, like, 20 extras on screen running after them, and not a single one is above a light jog. Like, the door is shutting. They don't know this, but the place is about to be bombed, and they're just kind of like, nobody's sprinting, nobody's ravenous. Like, just seeing a bunch of, like, people in hoodies with vaguely zombie face paint on, just kind of speed walking after the survivors really got me. The cherry on top of this stellar movie.
Extras should be paid residuals. They put more into it.
Oh my god, every single one. Every single one of them.
That was very if you're listening to this podcast like years from now, that was very topical. But,
they should not be scanned into a permanent database of bodies and faces and voices for studios to use in the future, and they should be paid residuals.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But what would you watch instead?
Zombieland. The Walking Dead, the one specific episode of The Walking Dead, literally any other zombie movie or any other vampire movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I saw people compare this Blade, Resident Evil, sure, whatever. Watch I Am Legend.
Hey,
this movie.
I'm gonna take that one. I need to watch I Am Legend.
Kind of hints at I Am Legend, and then doesn't be I Am Legend. Just watch I Am Legend.
You should watch Warm Bodies. Actually.
Oh, Warm Bodies. Okay, that's a solid one. Yeah. That's a good pick.
It's a zombie movie, a reverse zombie movie.
Yeah. You could. My funny answer is you should watch Before Sunrise.
There you go.
Because that's actually closer to the plot of this movie in some ways. Or watch Twilight.
Don't watch Twilight.
Okay, honestly though, this movie, because I think you would assume this movie is so bad it could be like camp. It's not. It's boring.
No.
Like baseball scene in Twilight, that is camp.
Yeah.
You know, you better hang on, Spider Monkey. That is camp. Like, Twilight is far better camp than this movie, so I will give it that unequivocally.
Fair.
Yas. Slay.
Yeah, so that's Against the Dark. Don't watch it. Watch literally any other zombie or vampire movie, or like anything vaguely associated with the horror genres.
Anything with the word dark in the title, or against.
I give it 2 stars. Just for that one, like a full half star just comes from that one girl filing her teeth that didn't matter, who had the beagle mug that said "I'm allergic to Mondays."
It was such an
unsettling scene.
It was such a lie because
that didn't matter at all.
It was setting. It was right at the beginning of the movie.
Can you give me the timestamp for when this happened? I need to rewatch this. Just that scene.
Near the beginning.
It was like very, very close to the beginning, and
we'll put the timestamp in the notes. Don't you worry, viewer.
Yeah.
Listener.
Yeah. It was very close to the beginning, and it set you up thinking like this is going to be a really creepy, weird movie.
Nope.
And I was actually kind of excited.
It was a snooze fest.
Because we haven't gotten that. And it really, that was lost almost immediately.
Yeah.
And it turned into one of the most frustrating things I have ever watched.
I will say I was very excited to talk about this movie with you all.
Good.
Oh, I was incredibly excited to talk about it because it was so freaking frustrating.
In like some pretty specific ways. Just breaking genre conventions in the worst ways.
I need like a cool down here before I go to bed. I'm gonna have to watch some Seinfeld or something. Zach can go start his rewatch of
Twilight.
Damn it! What's your comfort movie? I can't remember.
Whiplash.
What's your star rating for this, Hans? I don't know if you said
1 star.
1 star. Oh, see, I'm surprised.
Easily.
Yours are weirdly high. I give this half a star. This is
Wow.
down there like
Really?
This is like submerged.
I gave
Ticker
Ticker half a
territory.
star. I can't give this half a star.
This
It
is
doesn't
like,
even have Seagal in it for most of the movie. For that alone, I have to put it above Submerged and Tinker.
see, I'd put it above that, but this is like the upper end of a half star for me. This was just bad. This was boring. This is a waste of time. Like Against the Dark, more like Against My Will, because I will literally never watch this piece of crap again.
I'm giving it 2 stars just for, like I said, the Beagle mug that says I'm allergic to Mondays. Keith David's here.
Okay, I am currently watching the beginning of this movie. I'm looking for the gal that files her teeth and has the Beagle mug that says I hate Mondays, because once I see that, maybe I'll bump that up to a star. I'll take your word for that. I'll give you a star.
I'll bump that up to 1 star.
To 1. I'll bump it up. One half of that star is for Keith David. The other half of that star is for the gal with the filed teeth and the Beagle mug, and that is the only stars this movie has. 1 star total, and it had to fight for that 1 star.
That's about where I'm at. It's just sucks.
I was watching this. I'm like, I want to start a collection of all the good mugs from these Seagal movies. So far, we have 2 really good mugs.
We do have 2.
Oh no!
It's I'm allergic to Mondays and Black by Popular Demand. Those are the 2 good mugs.
Oh no! I regret to inform you. There's another funny thing this movie does.
Oh no! What is it?
I regret to inform you that when you're watching this movie, it is a blink and you'll miss it detail. Like, this has too much thought in it. At 1 minute and 23 seconds, you can see it on screen for like literally like 3 seconds maybe. You see a movie theater marquee, and at the movie theater, apparently they're playing the movie Day of the Dead. So that's just a fun little attention to detail that like nobody should or probably has noticed.
Oh, somebody in the art department was like caring about things.
They're like, oh, let's do a little for this little background thing that's going to be on screen for like 1 second. Let's throw something.
Let's get this
Yeah.
quote right.
I guess if I have to say something nice about this movie, Set Deck did a really good job.
Yeah.
Like that hospital, the world's biggest hospital that they spend the entire movie trying to get out of for some freaking reason, it actually does look like a very convincing, enormous hospital.
Yeah.
It does look like an SCP entry hospital.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Close this out, Aaron.
That was Against the Dark. This has been Stephen Seagal, which has been a radio show the entire time.
Ooh.
I don't know if you knew that.
What is this?
This is my late night radio announcer voice.
Okay, but I feel like you're going for like charming fireside chat, but really I'm just getting like I'm just getting call in and tell me about your encounters with UFOs. Like, it is 4 a.m. and you are listening to
call in
AM
and tell me
radio.
about your encounters with vampires.
Yeah, actually, we should start like a cryptozoologist, like AM radio, like hack, like call in and tell us about how you saw the zombie vampire in your experience. Oh, we have a caller from Missouri. Come in. Yeah, I was just walking down the street and I got trapped in this hospital that's mysteriously big, and there were zombie vampires in there, but it was a worldwide infection that was only contained in this one location. Yes, that is a classic symptom of one of these infections. Yes, thank you for calling in. Like, that's what the show becomes.
Yeah. So, thanks for listening, listener. We'll see you next week for, I don't know what the next movie is, actually.
Probably some garbage.
I mean, most likely. Odds are.
Statistically speaking.
We're getting to the end.
You'll hear us next week for some garbage.
We're getting to the end of the middle bit. We're going to be on to the last one. Driven to Kill.
Driven to Kill.
Next week. A former Russian mobster named Ruslan is now a crime novelist.
Oh, no.
Returns home and discovers his daughter is marrying his arch nemesis.
Wait, what?
His past also comes back to haunt him when his family is threatened. Hungry for justice, Ruslan returns to the life he once knew.
Oh, they should have called this
with
movie
a
Hungry
vengeance.
for Justice.
Oh, there you go.
All right, well.
Dang, I'm
we
excited
here at
for
Steven
Driven
See
to
It All. We here at Steven See It All are not here to determine who's wrong and who's right. We're here to determine who lives and who dies.
There it is. Thanks for listening. There, you found it. I'm going to stop my recording now.
Yeah, I'll stop now. Oh my god.
That means one of us has to die.
Sure, maybe this podcast can finally produce something interesting.